Being a lawyer is not easy because as doctors, they hold people's lives in their hands, so if you add being a former criminal to that, then things become complicated. Today we're going to be in the shoes of one of the most peculiar lawyers you might have seen because he avoids the court. Prepare yourself to be surprised by the 10 shocking moments from Better Call Saul, because if you know the name, then you know who to call, so you don't have to go through all of Breaking Bad, if you know what I mean. So why don't we get started and see what our friend Jimmy McGill has been doing lately. If scam were a form of art, he will stand out because when you know the nicks and tricks of a criminal, then what is there to hide? The best way to land a deal is not just to get rid of the evidence, but to know everything about what happened. Our folk Jimmy has amazed us season after season with his unusual methods, not only helping fellow criminals, but going way closer to that world. Hence, here are the 10 shocking moments from Better Call Saul. Brotherhood is not always easy, and things become complicated when someone starts harvesting jealousy until it becomes too late to do something. Unfortunately, that is the case of our two favorite brothers, as the success of one led to the other's downfall. So starting off at number 1, we have Jimmy and Chuck's downfall. In the 9th episode of the first season, we got a hold of the tension going on between Jimmy and Chuck. We discover the true motives of Chuck for taking Jimmy down from becoming a successful lawyer, as he told him he's not a real lawyer.
You're not a real lawyer.
For Jimmy, it felt like being stabbed in the chest since he believed his brother was proud of him and instead got him filled with anger as he told him that having a law degree is like a chimp with a machine gun, which sank Jimmy more as he looked up to be like his brother. Some say that if you don't have anything nice to tell, then don't say anything, but Chuck didn't mind them. However, not all is a confrontation in this series, as some of the hardest things do go under the table. If you get caught, your life gets on the line instead of the other way around, and Nacho is a clear example of this. Number 2, we have the pills changing. In the 8th episode of season 3, we saw Nacho attempting to switch Hector Salamanca's pills with placebos to get rid of him without anyone suspecting it. He practiced his technique earlier in the episode, and at the moment, he started sweating with his hands, shaking in nervousness as Spanish music is played in the background as the tension rises. Nacho skillfully concealed the pill bottle in slow motion, looking to toss it inside Hector's jacket pocket. You have to do whatever it takes to stay alive, and sometimes that involves some action movie movements or to put your life on the line to get what you have to accomplish. On other occasions, you'll just have to have a good time, just as our dynamic duo did in some of their best moments. Number 3, we have the brothers singing along. The finale of the 4th season showed us a mix of moments, opening with a touching scene between Chuck and Jimmy as a flashback where both were in a New Mexico bar celebrating, and when Chuck is about to leave, Jimmy tells him to stay for his karaoke song, The Winner Takes It All by ABBA. A wink from the director, as Chuck always wanted to be the winner and overshadowed Jimmy. However, they started singing along until Chuck took the lead, with Jimmy approving it to make him happy. Later, they returned drunk at home and slept in the same bed as old friends. The music from the 80s had its charm, and ABBA proved that. Not only Chuck took all of the glory at the karaoke, but he also got to spend some quality time with his brother and even share the bed with him. If only you knew what was about to come. And speaking of knowing, you might want to remember all those scenes kind of like in flashbacks from Jimmy, also known as Saul. So number 4, we have the gene scenes. Each season we got to look at Jimmy or Saul's new life, and although they're mostly black and white as flashbacks or soundless moments within his life, they show the repercussions of all of his actions. We saw Saul's new life working at a Cinnabon and living miserably, as well as feeling anxiety at the moment when his cab driver is acting suspiciously. The camera focused on an Albuquerque air freshener, and then the driver's eyes, they were full of skepticism, while Gene is scared and trying to escape the car as smoothly as possible. Not everything goes well all the time, and neither Jimmy or Saul can affirm that, as they still have stories to tell and talk about for quite a while, even if it's just about an empty kind of life, which in perspective is better than not having one at all, just as we saw here in number 5, Chuck's decease. In episode 10 of season 3, we got a short but shocking scene of Chuck passing away. First, we saw him tearing his house apart after a breakdown caused by his loss towards his brother in the court. From the outside of the house, an ongoing hissing sound is heard, along with kicks to the table, till only a lantern stands up, lighting Chuck's face. Later, flames appear on the scene as an omen of him passing away. Quite an ironic way to pass away considering the fears he had, and not to mention the imposing attitude he showcased during its appearances. He was someone full of himself but unpredictable, as he always wanted to be in control till it took a toll on him. Later on, keeping with the passing away experience, Mike took away something as vital as air. So in number 6 we have Werner passing away. In episode 10 of season 4, we got a long shot of New Mexico night sky with Mike holding a gun against Werner, resembling Mike's situation in Breaking Bad. He went against what he wanted and followed orders, ignoring Werner's pleading for his life. Werner's last words to his wife were of anger to save her life. Anybody's life isn't easy, but everybody has to take responsibility for their own decisions, whether it's to follow its code or to blindly follow others as Mike did. Some actions are done without notice until it's too late to do something. As Chuck found out, we have number 7, Madness at the Court. In episode 5 of season 4, Jimmy tricked his brother as he planted a battery in his pocket without him realizing it or reacting to it. Chuck became furious and went mad as the camera got closer to his face, stating his true feelings for his brother. You know someone has troubles when they can't keep it together anymore, and he was losing it over his brother as the tension began to build. It was not surprising to see him burst out, but the way he did it was indeed shocking. Those kind of changes can inspire many emotions, however, love remains the most important, and we can see that everywhere as Mike embraced his true feelings in number 8 here, the love of a father. For the 6th episode of season 1, we got a unique moment of raw emotion from Mike where he explained how his son passed away to his daughter-in-law. He started breaking down while talking about his stubborn son, who was a cop, and says, "I broke my boy." In that scene, we got to see him grieving and repented at his father instead of soulless and cold-blooded like he usually was. People are always calling out moms for being overprotective, but when someone as cold-hearted as Mike falls apart at the thought of what happened to his son, you know the love of a father is beyond words, and being a parent is no easy feat. To overcome fears is something that all parents encourage children to, although some grow up to live with the fear, as we all saw in number 9, tension at the hospital. In episode 10 of the 2nd season, we went through a claustrophobic Chuck. He hit his head and fainted in a printing shop, which is why he was taken to the hospital, resulting in his worst nightmare due to all the machines and electronics around him when he woke up, as it started pleading to the doctors, covered in fear and vulnerability. Vulnerability is one of the most human things that gave us hope for Chuck as he showed himself as a child. But little did he know that wasn't his worst nightmare. Monsters lurk everywhere as well as betrayed, just like what happened with Gus and Mike as they dealt with it in the 3rd season, because monsters are within a person, as we all saw through Kim's eyes in number 10, Saul's appearance. In episode 10 of season 4, Jimmy's trying to get his law license back while stating his respect for Chuck and admitting he would never be as good as him. With his heart out of the open tears drawn from Kim and one of the judges, but outside the doors, he started talking about it as a performance, causing Kim's face to change as she realized he was not honest. To make things worse, Jimmy asked the secretary for a form that would allow him to practice law under another name. And when Kim asked him what that was all about, he merely answered her, "It's all Saul, good man." Beware of those carrying a show, as those are the ones to stab your back. Not only did Saul go into a rabbit hole, but kept digging and digging until there was no other way out, rather than keep going as if everything else was a mere act. And he wasn't himself, which made everything more complicated and also started affecting him. There you have it, action, intrigueness, heartbreaking moments, brotherhood and suspense, alongside the crude sense of humor in the most shocking moments from the series of Better Call Saul. I don't know about you, but it does make you wonder, what would you do in Jimmy's place, and would you still thrive forward or be able to do something different about it? Maybe the best place to find out is by going straight for season 5 right away.